Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everything in between. And this week on the show, well, if you're a Misfits fan, you're not going to want to miss this. We've got the original guitar player from the Misfits, Franché Coma, will be joining us this week on the show. Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. So excited this week to be joined by Franché Coma. I don't think anyone's as excited as Ryan is as excited for this one. Ryan, I know you're a big Misfits fan.
I am.
You've seen the Misfits several times live.
I've gotten to see different iterations of Misfits. I saw Jerry and Friends. I've seen Danzig play with Doyle, in which that's when it really connected because I'm a big Danzig guy, but I'm also a big fan of music being played at the tempo it's supposed to be played.
Sure.
Because when it's so fast, it's almost unrecognizable. It's not my thing. But man, I saw it twice. I saw the OG Misfits twice. One of them was at Madison Square Garden, and we talk about this concert, about how that was an amazing one. I saw them in Jersey last year at the Prudential Center, and I got to say, there's just something incredibly validating about being a fan of a band since you're a teenager, and you and your friends love them, and you love the songs, and your band plays them, and you unintentionally butcher the music as you try to replicate it. Right. But it's something to just see the OG guys, and you're just staring off into a stadium full of people, of like-minded individuals singing their heart out to lyrics that could get anybody canceled these days if they're dared written now.
Yeah. Well, I know how much the Misfits mean to you, and hats off to you for making this one happen, because you've been talking to Franché, or as we can call him, Frank. Right?
Yeah, let's call him Frank.
So you've been talking to Frank for a little bit online. You've got this knack for finding people. I guess we kind of both do, but you've got this knack for finding these like obscure people that kind of history have kind of forgotten and shouldn't have. And that's what I love about what you bring to the show when we're hey, who can we talk to that'd be really, really interesting? You're like, I know the seventh singer of fucking Whitesnake, or no, but you know what I mean. Like you're able to find these people that are super interesting, that have been there when things were happening for bands, or whatever project, and it just brings so much, because everybody's got a story. We were all, we've all been involved with things over the years that have been super cool, but when you get to talk to somebody that was around, especially the Misfits. I mean, imagine being around during the first recordings.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
And he pretty much was. I mean, he was the first guitar player in the band. Before that, Glenn was filling up the sound with keyboards. Yeah. And it's really cool. These stories, everybody out there, if you're a Misfits fan, first of all, congratulations. You chose correctly for choosing to participate in this podcast. But at the same time, I just love his wit, his accent, his wit, his delivery. Franché's a funny guy. He's a personality. And the cool thing about this, and you're going to learn this, is he was like a friend before the band, after the band. So there's a connection, there's a personal connection. And it's not just, I went to a few band practices and I scratched my ass. It's he was part of the formative years.
Yeah. And it's cool what I really love about people from the East Coast, especially New Yorkers, they're just well, he's my friend. I don't give a fuck what he does, and you could tell that there's a friendship with these guys that's kind of stayed over all these years, right up to the point where, you'll hear where Frank is at the Prudential Center, seeing his old friends playing in an arena. So I think it's really, really cool. But before we go too far, Ryan, let's make sure we give a big shout out to our friends at Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And if you use our promo code Rockman20, you will get 20% off your entire order. And you can use that promo code as many times as you like. Literally the best hot sauce I have ever had in my life, Ryan. I was at the Corn Show and I bumped into Al, owner of Heartbeat Hot Sauce, just randomly. We were hanging out backstage talking.
The legend himself.
The legend himself. So I got to spend some time with Al, got some FaceTime with him, and there's a lot of great stuff coming down the pipeline from Heartbeat Hot Sauce. But if you've never tried them before, you got to go to heartbeathotsauce.com, use our promo code Rockman20 and get 20% off your entire order. Great hot sauce, small batch fermenters out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. Also, a big shout out to our friends at Audio-Technica Canada, who provide us with all this incredible recording gear. And of course, our friends at Studio House Designs. Now, I know neither one of us right now are wearing Studio House Designs because you're rocking your Misfit shirt, but they are a great t-shirt company out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they are just incredible. Just quick shout out, Ryan, before we go too far. We work in Comic-Cons and we are big supporters of all of our talent at Comic-Con. And at Ottawa Comic-Con, I got to meet Chad Coleman, who plays Dennis Cuddy Wise on The Wire. Now, The Wire is probably one of the greatest shows ever created. And me connecting with him and getting to chat with him was so exciting for me. We're going to see him at Winnipeg Comic-Con in a few weeks. And I was telling him about this company that makes these Wire shirts. Because let's face it, The Wire came out in 2002. I think it wrapped up in 2008. And no one makes merch for Wire fans. So this company in Texas called Feel So Good made these Wire shirts. And they sent me this one. And they sent me another one. And they sent me a couple for Chad as well, which I'm going to give to him when we see him in Winnipeg. So I think that's super cool that they got excited when I showed them a picture of me and Chad, and they were like, let's send you some shirts to give to him. He was super cool about it, gave me his phone number, and he was like, yo, man, let me know. And anyways, this whole crazy thing led to me rewatching The Wire with my son. I ended up getting it on Blu-ray. I found it on Marketplace, went and picked it up at Lionel Grew Metro from my friend Nifty. And I'm rewatching The Wire with my son right now, and it's just the best. Nathan's like, "You've talked about this show forever, Dad." I'm like, "Sit down, young Padawan. We're gonna watch the greatest show ever created." And we're 2 episodes in. He's just freaking the fuck out. He's like, "Dad, this is just brilliant." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, this is brilliant." So, all that to say, big shout out to Feel So Good for sending me these, and I can't wait to see Chad in a few weeks and to be able to share that joy with him. So, all right, enough of that. Let's dive right into this. We are really lucky to have this guy on the podcast this week. Ladies and gentlemen, Franché Coma from the Misfits. All right, welcome back to the show. We're really excited, and I know I'm excited, but I know Ryan is losing his shit right now because I don't know a bigger Misfits fan than Ryan. And Ryan reached out to me and he's like, "Listen, I've got like an idea." And I'm like, "Okay, what's your idea?" He goes, "I think we should get this guy on the show because this guy is going to have stories. This guy was literally there at the beginning of one of my favorite bands, formative years." And I'm like, "Okay, who is it?" He goes, "Franché Coma." And I'm like, "Are you serious? You're going to be able to get him in here?" And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I've been talking to him." So you were nice enough to come in and join us for a little bit of time tonight to chat about your whole history with the Misfits. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. You're welcome.
It's very nice of you to do that. I know that you got a lot going on, and you've got a bunch of other stuff that's been going on since. I mean, God, that was so many years ago. But thank you for taking the time to come chat tonight. First off, Ryan, you've been a Misfits fan how long now?
I think since I was about 13 or 14. I heard 2 iterations. I heard my friend lent me the American Psycho CD, in which, that's what they were doing in the 90s. But then I found this tape, and it was, I can't remember if it's Legacy of Brutality or whatever, but the first song I ever heard Glenn sing, and presumably Franché on the guitar, was Angel Fuck. And as soon as I heard that Jim Morrison type of wail, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? I thought punks were British. What the fuck is this? Pre-internet, knowing what I know. And it was really cool to go down the bubble and then eventually realize that, your friends make you mixtapes and hear collections and hear all that stuff. And then I finally come across the album Static Age. And I look on the back, I'm like, I wonder what songs are on this. And I have it with me. I have it with me. Been collecting vinyl, and I'm a very proud owner of the album Static Age. And I'm just like, Static Age, okay, classic TV casualty, Some Kind of Hate, Last Caress, Return of the Fly Hybrid Moment. What the fuck? We Are When 38 Teenagers from Mars, Comeback, Angel Fuck, Hollywood Babylon, Attitude, Bullet, and so those are like bona fide fucking classics and are all on this one album. And I hear this amazing legacy of this album, that this album, you guys recorded it, but then it was never put out and it was almost lost from existence. Franché, can you tell us a little bit about how this album actually saw the light of day eventually?
So basically, to answer your question, how did the Static Age come about? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, the Static Age come about. How did it eventually come out? But you know what? That is a good idea. Let's before we talk about how I heard it, let's talk about how you recorded it. Like, I hear through the lore that it's because you guys had an independent record label and another record label wanted to use that name, and in exchange for getting the rights to use the name, they gave you guys studio time. Is that correct?
Okay, Mercury Records came out. We had a label, Blank Records, okay?
Okay.
Mercury Records at the time, who was still in existence, came out with a label called Blank. The short story, they wanted the rights to it. We kind of had it. So they gave us, I believe 20 hours of studio time plus all the tapes. You had to have mother tapes and master tapes back then, and the engineer, everything to make the tape. With the contingency, they'd give it a shot and a listen about putting it out, which they never did. I can still picture those two motherfuckers standing in the control room, looking at it like shaking their heads like it's good, and then never doing nothing. But that's how it was recorded, and that's how that came about.
Wow.
Okay. And I got to ask too, basically all the songs I were talking about were like, the ones that are played all the time, the classics, but there's a few songs near the end that have a real simultaneous feel to them, almost like you guys were not making them up on the spot, but definitely they felt really fresh. Like Spinal Remains, In the Doorway, and Theme for a Jackal. Were those written like right before you guys went into studio? Because it kind of felt like, these were almost on the seat of your pants.
Okay, let's take them one at a time. In no specific order. Theme for a Jackal, as you know, before I entered the band as the first guitarist, they played a little while. The Misfits, Glenn was on the keyboards. They used to do that song.
Okay.
Theme for a Jackal. Okay, so that song was there. It wasn't something that was just dreamed up. Right? Okay. Then we have Spinal Remains, which the original name of that song used to be Feline Nursery, which brings us to another story. I don't know exactly, but somebody had something, I don't know if with that name or with similar lyrics, and whatever the copyrights were back then, we had to change it. So Glenn changed it up, changed the lyrics, and it became Spinal Remains. So look, you got two stories, two unique stories there. And the third one was which one?
Oh, I believe it. In the Doorway, Spinal Remains. Or
In the Doorway. Yeah. In the Doorway is also a song that they were doing just on the keyboards.
Okay.
Okay, so that did get dreamed up right there with a guitar in the studio.
Because it
was a
like
song, that. But there was never guitar with it. It's not even a full song.
It feels like that. You're kind of like letting a lot of long air notes going and stuff like that. It's very cool.
We kind of worked on that right there with the guitar.
Yeah. Wow. This album, Static Age, is regarded as one of the greatest punk rock records of all time, but history may not have even heard it, because after you guys are in the studio and no one puts it out, the songs are then put out, in singles and stuff. Like, why did that happen? Why did you choose to only put a few songs out as opposed to this entire record out yourselves?
Well, once they rejected us that they weren't putting out, what we could afford was to put out the Bullet single.
Okay.
Right. Bullet, Hollywood, Attitude, and what I believe Bullet Hollywood. What the heck's on there now? But anyway, so we put that out ourselves. And then, it came out originally on black vinyl, then on red, with the insert and stuff like that. So then after that, things just got lost, and, the album never got put out the way it was supposed to be put out. Who knows if the title of it would have been even Static Age? People call it Static Age Recordings. It's the first song. It sounds cool. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. That was the intent, but you never know.
So when you played on these recordings, did you ever end up doing touring with the guys? Like how did your participation start in the band? Like where did it come from? Like was it like tell me how you guys formed?
Jerry, Glenn, and Manny were practicing
Right.
by Manny's house, and we used to hang out at a park nearby. And I believe Jerry said, I have, a friend of mine's a guitar player. And I wound up going down. And, I started rehearsing like 4 or 5 songs with them. And then at one of the shows at Eddie's Lounge, which is a place here in New Jersey, I was introduced after half the set. And we did Angel Fuck. I can't remember exactly which songs, but Angel Fuck definitely. Because I had a jacket on that I painted Angel Fuck on the back. To be honest with you. Yeah, so that's how that all came about. And then, we went to Canada, Detroit.
You're going to Canada was a horrible pain in the ass. Could you please tell us about the story of you guys going to Canada and the small disaster it was?
Let me give you a little insight. If you talk to any of my friends,
or
any of the band members, there's always a story. And for some reason, my name is always part of that story. So on the way up, it was a lot of snow. It was December.
Right.
Oh.
We had Jerry's mother's station wagon and a U-Haul. The short story is I was driving and I kind of went into I don't know if we had to make a U-turn. I forget, but I kind of went into a ditch and I helped to blow the engine. But we drove it that way, all the way there and all the way back.
Wow.
I almost got us deported at the border because you guys are in Canada, yes?
Oh yeah, we're in Montreal.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I'm 21 years old, whatever it is. How much is your equipment worth? Because you have to leave like a bond.
Yeah.
I guess they still do that. Anyway, I'm thinking the more the merrier. Now I must have said, let's say I said $3,000 or $30,000. I don't remember. Pretty much everybody in the back seat and next to me was about ready to stab me or do whatever they can, because the more you say, the more you have to leave. And they're like, no, he's mistaken, not 3,000 or whatever, 300 and blah, blah, blah. So it was unique, man. We got away with that one. And then when we get there, the guy says to us at the Shock Theater, I sent you a telegram that Devo, that's who we were supposed to play with, canceled.
Oh, fuck.
Well, you needed to send the telegram 2 days earlier. We had to drive 10 hours to get there,
Oh, no.
So we wound up doing the show. I remember there were people there. I mean, there was a lot of remember a band from up by you guys, the B Girls?
Remember the name, yes.
They were there, all of them.
Wow.
We wound up doing the show ourselves. And then pretty much, I believe we did 2 nights too. And then we came back.
That's amazing. The Misfits history is riddled with that kind of stuff. Even after your time, they went to England thinking they were going to play with the Damned and didn't.
Yeah, it's insane.
But so tell me, take us back to the recording studio process, because Jason here was a very successful musician. He was in a band called Slaves on Dope, and they recorded many records. I've never, I think, put out a full-length record. I've always kind of put out EPs, demos, and whatnot. But that was in a digital age when everything was really fucking comparatively easy to what you guys used to have to do in the 70s. Can you tell me about the recording of Static Age and the mood everybody was in?
I mean, basically, it was all great. I mean, we're driving into New York. We're at a nice top of the line recording studio. Obviously, everything back then is done on tape. You had, I believe, it was a 16-track Mother tape, which was a 2-inch tape, I believe, with 16 tracks on them. And you pretty much laid those tracks down one at a time, or however you were going to do it. That album, we recorded it. I'll use the word live, and then went back and did the vocals. If you listen to 138. I was so used to going into that little lead there. I played the lead on the original guitar track and went back and overdubbed the rhythm, which you can hear it come in, but you should have did it the other way, But it was so good. They're like, just leave it. Okay. Again, 20 hours seems like a lot. It's not a lot. You got to go back. You got to do a few overdubs. You got to mix. 20 hours is like that. Done. So we left it.
Wow. So when you're recording the album, there's some kind of lore involving Sid Vicious's mom. Is any of that true, where she showed up to the studio or something? Like, I'm wondering if
that was later on. That was after I left the band. Jerry became friendly with him and the mother and all. That was post Static Age, if you will.
There you go.
Jerry has his boots, Sid Vicious. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's crazy. Yeah. What do you mean he has his boots?
I thought that was an expression.
You'd have to ask Jerry. I don't know the whole story, even though we always have been, best of friends.
Yeah.
but they became friendly. And when he passed, I believe his mother gave Jerry the boots. His
Okay.
boots.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
That's
let me ask you a question, because I know, obviously you've known Jerry for a long time, and you guys still keep in touch, right?
I spoke to him Saturday.
Right.
okay.
I like, there's some people talk, and it's about, like, I've met Jerry before, I knew him probably about 25 years ago. We had the same manager when he had Michael Graves was in the band singing.
Okay.
And I remember meeting Jerry, and he was just such a nice guy. But the one thing that people always talk about is Jerry's work ethic. He had a tremendous work ethic. Like, the guy would put his nose to the grind. And let's face it, Jerry really carried the Misfits name for all this time. Knowing him the way you know him, did he really get that work ethic from his dad, from working in that knife shop?
Well, we all worked in his father's machine shop at
Right,
one time
machinery.
or another. All of us.
Right.
I don't know if Glenn did, but all of the friends, even pre-Misfits.
Yeah.
So I would say yeah, because until today it's the same. It's the same. So I would say yeah, that played a big part in it.
Well, punk's working period is
Yeah.
pretty odd, considering back in the day where even like there's this idea where it's just like, oh, if you work, you're not cool, and it's interesting. It was always kind of metalheads that were like, no, we have jobs, we need money, we need good gear, we need to play that way. But punk is
Right.
just like, we don't need good gear, we can play on crap.
We had good gear.
Yeah.
So
So I wanted to I want to also ask you, well, basically, Doyle says hi, by the way. I was
I said
thinking
hello.
before, a giant monster of a heart of gold. What was it like? Was he around like when you guys were starting a band, playing in garages and stuff like that? He must have been like, what, 10 years old when you guys were starting out?
You have to realize something. Okay, I'll give you a brief history. My wife and I grew up on the same block, across the street from one another. Okay.
That's fucking adorable. Please continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jerry's grandmother lived next door to my wife.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Jerry, probably when we were 10 years old. So that's how far back we go. Now, Jerry himself, they lived, on the other side of town, if you will, not far, but So now let's say we're, 15, 16. Doyle's probably, like you said, 10 or whatever. So we were by Jerry a lot. This is all pre-Misfits. So,
Right.
Doyle's there. So, I know Doyle since, if I know Jerry 55 plus years, let's just say I know Doyle 53.
Jeez.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
It goes back a long way. All pre-Misfits and everything. So, yeah, it goes back far.
It's really cool that you were friends with him beforehand, and there's this idea that there was a friend group, and then it eventually evolved into music and all that. That's really great. That's kind of what it felt like back in the day in the punk scene. With shout out to the members of Disgruntled that used to hang out with my band all the time, Judgmental. Like, we're just this big group of friends that would go do everything and play shows and watch each other play. Did Lodi have a cool scene like that with some bands, or was it just you guys?
Even when I left the band, I still hung out. We still hung out. You know what I mean?
Cool. That's
cool. There was no. Maybe they were a little pissed, but honestly, Doyle was already learning the songs, even if it was just a practice. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was inevitable. In my opinion, which was a good thing. You could ask him even, and he'll tell you the same thing. There's never been any animosity or hard feelings between us with anything. It's all good. You know what I mean? So yeah, Doyle had his group of friends because he was younger. Jerry and I had our group of friends. You know what I mean? It's just that when you're out of high school and just starting high school, it's two different ages, and it's a little bit different.
When you hear someone like Glenn Danzig sing in a microphone in a studio, or you see him on stage, did you even know back then that this guy was unique and this guy had something special?
He had a voice. You guys know it as well as I do.
Yeah.
Listen, even with the band I have now, the hardest thing to find was a singer.
Yep.
And, they call, no offense to anybody, they say they're singers. When you've played with someone like Glenn, and I played with someone after Glenn that also could sing, it's really hard to go with someone that can't. I'm being honest with you, because there's a lot. Like, I wouldn't be a lead singer. You know what I mean? Because I could sing backup vocals, but you're not going to see me fronting no band. I'm not. It's not me. But there's a lot of people out there that do attempt to do that. I give them credit, but I played with singers that hit the real notes, not everything falsetto. You know what I'm saying? And you guys played in bands. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
For sure.
I have one more for you. You said about how cute with my wife growing up across the street. Her and Glenn were in the same homeroom in high school. They graduated together.
Oh, fascinating you say something about singers. Just to talk about that, it's you can have someone with an amazing voice that will get up on stage and stand there like a broom and just kind of like mumble into a microphone because they don't know how to perform. And then in punk, a lot of the times you can have an amazing performer that doesn't have a unique voice, but it's such a unique thing to have an amazing singer that is an amazing performer and has personality. And also Glenn, I mean, geez, he's a great artist too. He does so many other things. But besides playing guitar, what are other things that you like to do? Other passions you have?
Lately, it's just this. I'm going to be honest. My kids are all growing out of the house. My one son plays with us. The singer that's with us now is the exact word for word what you just said is the exact person that you described. Trust me. Okay. He's in the Actors Guild. It's exactly what you just said, the singer that's with us now. So a lot of music. I mean, I listen to a lot of music also. That's been taking up most of my time the past, year or so.
Okay. And what is the name of your new band again? So everybody could check out Franché Coma's recent.
The new band is FC Inc. There's 2 songs out there now streaming on all major services, streaming services, and a third one to come out this Friday, the 4th.
Oh, great.
So there'll be 3 out there. Science Craze, Monsters and the Mob, and Friday's Never Enough. And then to answer one of your earlier statements about the vinyl, the EPs.
Yeah.
These days, a 45 is probably going to cost you more to put out than it's going to be for an EP or an LP.
Sure. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. You guys know. So this will lead to probably an EP, I think, next, if not the full album after this comes out.
So let me ask you this, late 70s, you record this stuff. It goes on to be so fucking influential to so many people. And then you get the New York hardcore scene that comes up. Were you ever anyone that went to and I know you're in Jersey, but you're still adjacent. It's close enough. Did you ever go into the city and did you ever get into those hardcore bands that came after, the Agnostic Fronts and all that New York hardcore?
Okay. Remember, we may be from Jersey, but we were a New York band.
That's it. Of course. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
We were in New York 5 nights a week.
Yeah. You're always there.
Pre and post. It's 11 miles.
Right.
Today it takes an hour and a half to get in. Back then it took 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course. I mean, even the Misfits, even when I left the band, I mean, I was probably at every show they did in the area.
Yeah. So I imagine you get a guy like Henry Rollins, who, not only was so popular with Black Flag, but then becomes such a music historian after, and a vinyl head and a fanatic.
Oh, God, what a collection.
I know. So when you get a guy like Rollins that comes up, I'm sure Rollins probably gushes and asks you a million questions about those sessions.
Yeah, I mean, I never personally met Henry, to be honest.
I'm sure he'd love to meet you to talk.
Yeah, I never met him. Yeah, it'd be great. When we recorded the Static Age sessions, if you will, I had them make me 2 tapes, cassette tapes. One that I still have them both. One that I played the heck out of in my car and just listened to all the time. And I probably made a copy of that one myself. And one that I never touched.
Right.
So that's the tape that the Static Age came from, because the masters, whatever, they're lost. Who knows, whatever. But there's many stories. Yeah. Maybe Glenn has them. I don't know. But in any event, that's what made the Static Age album what you had in your hand before. And
really, from a tape.
And it was mastered by a gentleman from West Music, Alan Duche.
Okay.
So the funny thing is, when I'm recording the stuff I'm doing now, the FC Inc. stuff, I have to get some stuff mastered. So I asked somebody, a few people, who you recommend, blah, blah, blah. They said, well, it was this one guy, blah, blah. It turned out to be Alan. Now, keep in mind, really? I didn't realize as I'm calling that he was the one that mastered the Static Age album until 5 months ago.
That's so funny.
The most?
Wow.
I call him. He goes, Franché, you don't remember me? I'm like, No. So he starts telling, I'm like, oh, I remember the name now, but you used to be in Jersey. This number's like in the Boondocks in New York State. He goes, yeah, we moved. So he was the one that mastered all the Static Age stuff and mastered the 3 songs I just told you from FC Inc.
That's so funny.
Which is pretty ironic, actually.
Yeah, no kidding. What it was almost like it was meant to be.
He did a great job. Remember, it was a cassette tape.
Yeah. No, it does not sound like a cassette tape.
To work with. It's
No.
not
Wow.
what is it, 2-track? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he did a great job with it. So, and he did a great job with my stuff. I mean, he did an outstanding job with our stuff too. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. That's why I wanted to share it with you.
Yeah, please. That's why you're here.
Well, it's really, and it's like, talk about a coincidence, like.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to be in, I don't know if it was Fairview, West New York, but just outside of New York on the Jersey side. And now he's kind of upstate New York. Not far, but far enough. Far enough that I'd say he's in the Hicksville, in the hillbillies.
Have you seen the Misfits play, like, let's say in the last 5 years at their
all the local shows.
And it's got to be a trip to see them playing on those stages.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. Doyle was on the first show in Jersey at Prudential. Okay. I believe Doyle was on tour. So Jerry, as you said, his work ethic is, whether it's in the machine shop or with the Misfits, it's always there. So another short story. He asked me, listen, you want to come up and play a little bit while Doyle's not able to? AC was practicing with him. Yep. So I was going up there 3 times a week and going over like a lot of songs, and a lot of songs I never played also. Matter of fact, all the songs. So I was practicing 2 or 3 times a week before that first Prudential show, which was 2018 or 19? I know it was pre-COVID.
Right.
Yeah. So, so it was pretty cool,
Okay.
Just to show you how the friendship is, because
it's amazing, and it's great that you guys. I think but like, in my opinion, that's kind of like how it used to be more than it is now. Like, I think, you know what I mean. I think, and most of the people you talk to that were in any bands that were in that area, it's all the same thing. It was more about family and about friendship, and the music came second.
Yep. Yeah. So I was up there. He had the recordings with Dave Lombardo on the drums. And the vocals. So we're practicing. And in fact, I have a CD here that I could bring it home, that I used to bring it home and play too, so I could keep practicing.
Okay.
Remember, some of those songs I never played ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I played on stuff that you don't like. Children in Heat, Horror Business, Where Eagles Dare.
Yeah.
Who Killed Marilyn? All that stuff we were doing live, but I never recorded. In fact, Who Killed Marilyn was a little bit different when I was in I was playing the slide guitar in some parts, and there were some harmonies in there that aren't there, a little bit different. And then they changed it when I left. But some of the songs I played on, even though I didn't record.
That's interesting that you say that, because the band, the Misfits, when you were in the band, eventually it would be a bunch of muscle-bound guys with devil locks, but originally it was like a bunch of dudes playing songs, like, and not every song was about horror movies back then in your era. Like, what did you think when the band eventually evolved into that, into a bunch of scary, muscular dudes with huge devil locks in their faces and stuff?
Well, everybody always worked out.
Yeah.
You're friends with Doyle. He was probably born with a barbell. I remember him.
You're the one who knew him since the little.
I remember him. He had surgery years ago, before the post Misfits, whatever, before 95, whatever. And he had to have a surgery on his back. Even with that, and I know he was in a lot of pain, he'd have something in the truck when they drive down, I don't know, 5-pound dumbbell 10, and he'd do something just to be doing something.
Right.
So, and Jerry the same, they always worked out. I mean, I work out too. I just don't, I don't push it to that kind of limit. You know what I mean? But, I'm more into the cardio and stuff like that. But as far as I personally was not. Look, if you ever saw us, Jerry they always had that dress. Yeah. I just went there and played. A pair of jeans, black shirt, maybe a white shirt. I don't know. Maybe I made a shirt, but it was nothing crazy, no makeup or nothing like that. Even today with the band, as you can do whatever you want, but I'm just going out there to play. You know what I mean? I'm not getting dressed up. Put it that way. That's not me, but that's the way the band evolved. And look where it got them today. Who would have known 40 years ago they'd be selling out all over the place today, as they are.
No kidding.
And the crowd ranges from 14 years old to 70 years old. It's crazy.
Two questions I got asked that only you can answer. What was it
Uh,
like? Well, what was it like to not only see the guys, like, Jason was mentioning, like asked you if you saw them play in these big shows, but what was it like to just watch the audience sing along to these songs that you guys might have played in front of like 15 people at one point, and then seeing like 20,000 people in a stadium like sing their hearts out to it?
it was pretty cool. Like Madison Square Garden, the first Prudential show, I don't know, it was good, but the Madison Square Garden show was phenomenal. Put it that way.
I saw the Madison Square Garden show, and
Yeah.
yeah, we bought ticket. This is years and years and years ago. And we bought tickets off a scalper like at the last second, and we managed to get in right as the Damned was wrapping up. We heard New Rose, like,
Okay.
yeah. So
It was
watched
a
Rant.
great show, and I'm usually backstage. Jerry gets me back there and all that
Mm.
and stuff, and all. Then I leave. Then I leave when it's getting nearby. Close to the show. It was good. Good show. It's good stuff.
And I gotta ask, what was it like for the first time hearing bands like Metallica cover "Last Caress" and other songs
That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so wild, right? When you hear that, I'm like, no. Now, keep in mind, at the time, there's no reunion still. We're kind of dormant as far as the Misfits go. I mean, there may have been the post Misfits, but it's still not the same, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then you watch a movie, Jackass, and his hybrid moments in it, and you're playing on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
I'm amazed at just the fact that music, it can live on forever as long as it was recorded. So I'm really glad that you guys got your shit together enough to record all this kind of stuff, because there are so many bands I've been in that never recorded properly, and now that music only exists in memory.
It's so true. Even today, the first thing we did, we laid down, I think it's 12 or 13 songs we have recorded. I mean, you just have to do it. And I want to go back, like maybe during the winter, because it's critical to have that stuff, regardless of where it all goes in the end. But it's really a good thing to do.
Oh yeah, and it's like, anybody that gets better at their craft, they always say it. You got to put your 10,000 hours in, and that's the way things get better, is just by working those muscles and getting that those chops up by just recording and trial and error. And what I think is great is when just the whole story of how Static Age came about and how it comes out all these years later. When you're in your other life, because I imagine once you, like, what did you do when you left Misfits? Like, what
Okay.
You mentioned you had kids that are grown. So what?
Not at that time. I wasn't even.
No, not that. I'm saying now, but I mean, there obviously was you did other stuff. There must have been other things you did in your life.
You mean it's musically?
No, just anything. Like what would?
I left the Misfits to go play with a dear friend of mine who was Ashley Morantz, who recently just passed away. He had a band called Active Ingredients.
Okay.
Honestly, one of a good portion of the reason why I left the Misfits was I says, who knows back then? Hindsight's 2020.
Right.
They were going toward the horror stuff and all that. I'm like, you know what? This music is better. It'll go further than the Misfits. There was a keyboard player. It was a little bit different. It was more progressive, if you will.
Sure.
In fact, if I play it to anybody today and tell them we came out with it back then, they say it was way ahead of its time. So I went with them. But both of us, we both used to switch guitar and bass.
Right.
My friend Mike and I, because we didn't have a bass player. Both of us had these crazy egos. I mean, we turned down gigs with Iggy Pop. Oh God, I can't remember. We were like, no, we're not ready yet. We're going to do this first, do that. When we talked about it before he passed, we both said, what was wrong with us? Where were we at that moment that we did what we did?
Sure.
So,
procrastination is the enemy of progression sometimes.
It's so, I mean, I think about it, I'm like, what were we thinking, and then obviously after that, whatever, got married, had kids, worked, and here I am, so to speak, I'll tell you the truth. I dropped the guitar for 25 plus years. You got to realize, I got married. Like I said, I married my wife, girlfriend from high school, if you will. 3 of my boys are a year apart. So, neither one of us were in the position where you had people watching your kids or what have you. So I'm working days and she's working nights. So, and vice versa with the kids, who's watching the kids. So for that, it was about 25 years, I even sold the Explorer I played That's my only regret through everything is selling that one Explorer, only because it was a 58 reissue. But in any event, I got some stuff that's made up for that, but still. So yeah, so I put it down for a while because I don't know, they just, who's playing sports, who's doing this, who's doing that, when are you going to do it? Was it a mistake? Biggest mistake of my life. Should have I done it? No. Did I do it? Yes. Can I undo it? No. It's done. It's then. And here I am. What am I going to do? I even said to Jerry 6 months ago, I said, here I am, better late than ever. He goes, yeah, you think?
I love it.
It is what it is.
I don't know. As a fan, especially in a Jersey show, I'd think it would be pretty cool if he came up for a few songs or whatever. That's just me personally. I'm not, I have no part in that organization.
There was talk of that, but again, talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean,
I'm amazed that Glenn and Jerry are even on stage together, because for the longest time I was under the impression as a fan I would never see Slash and Duff and Axl Rose on the same stage again. I would never see Danzig and Jerry Only on the same stage again. I was under the impression that none of this would happen, and these things keep happening. So what is a band like that to you? What is a band that you always wanted to see and finally got to, and you're just like, how the fuck did this happen?
I've seen a lot of bands. I'll tell you the truth. I've seen every band I wanted to see. All we used to do was go to concerts.
Yeah.
The way you said you got into the Garden, we would just go to the Garden and scalp tickets outside. Like, I'll just give you an example. And I was big into David Bowie.
Right.
Cool.
I probably seen every show he did in New York.
Oh,
every night too. I mean, there was this, after he did the Diamond Dogs tour in 75, 76, like less than a year later, he was at Radio City doing a Young Americans tour. Let's say 7 nights. I was at all 7 shows.
Oh man.
Yeah. I seen Kiss at least 12 times. I seen Aerosmith open up for Black Sabbath. I seen Kiss open up for Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
That meaning that they were nobody. They were nobody. It's funny. I sat in the very first row there used to be a place in Jersey called the Capitol Theater. I'm with my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend. Very first row. Who's this band Kiss? We're going to see Blue Oyster Cult. My wife's like, who's Blue Oyster Cult? I'm like, just come on, let's go. Kiss came out. I was like, oh my God. That next, let's say that was September, New Year's Eve at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, Blue Oyster Cult's now opening for Kiss.
Wow. Yeah. That's how fast.
Back in the day, sometimes it's a little different today. When you opened up, you were like the undercard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I've seen, you name it. Aerosmith.
Did you see Led Zeppelin?
Oh, I was at The Song Remains the Same. I saw them both. I was there. I was in that audience. And the next time around, I was in the third row center to see Led Zeppelin.
That must have been incredible.
Yeah, The Who was the loudest band I ever saw.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Like, the loudest band I've ever seen is Motorhead. So for me, seeing Lemmy, but I heard the Who were loud.
I think it was where I was sitting. Man, I don't mind loud music. I told these guys we're gonna have a problem when we go out and play. They said, why? I says, because the first thing I'm gonna tell them is I play fucking loud. Too bad, But I don't mind playing loud. Well, the sound people lower it down. You guys play. Sometimes you go beyond the point too low. You can't get your sound.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. You know what I mean? With the Misfits, I had the V4 head and the MPEG cabinet. I just said this to somebody. I was never beyond 1.5 on the volume.
Wow.
But with some of the stuff today, maybe I have to be a little bit higher or what have you, But after that Who concert, my ears were really ringing. I'll never forget it. I didn't see the Sex Pistols though.
No.
Do you ever see the Clash though?
No.
Okay. I would have loved to have seen, but the thing about the Sex Pistols is that what's fucking weird is that when I'm like 13, 14, the Sex Pistols, I think, had been already done reunion shows in 1996.
Yeah.
So I'm like 13 in 1998, and the Sex Pistols had already done their thing, and I'm starting to get into them. And now I'm thinking, oh yeah, the Sex Pistols, they were together so long ago. And now I'm like, that's only like a 20-year difference from them reuniting to them breaking up in the 70s. Yeah. And to me, when I was a kid, that felt like a fucking million years. But now I'm like, 20 years ago was not that fucking long. And I was like 2004. You were telling me
wait, let me say, Doyle too, when he's around, I go see him.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
see Doyle all the
Doyle's
time.
band. Everyone out there listening to this, Doyle's band fucking rules. Doyle 1, Doyle 2, they're great fucking albums. They're so
Yeah,
heavy.
I'll tell you what's best about it. I work out to his album sometime, and I
Really?
like
Okay.
when you could play an act when your stereo is getting hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean hot, like hot. You
Yeah.
know, warm, hot. When that's getting hot, that means it's good because you could turn it up and the stereo's pushing to play the music, and it sounds good. I like stuff like that.
For sure. For
I
sure.
like albums you don't want to skip songs on. I think that's a lost art, like
Exactly.
consistency and goodness. We went through a period in the '90s when there was 3 good songs on an album and the rest of it was bullshit to sell a
Yeah.
CD.
Right. In fact, the other night when we played our first show last week, we opened up for Doyle Singer. He has a band called Cancer Slug.
Yeah, Alex Story. Yeah,
Yeah, we opened up for them.
cool.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Kick-ass stuff, man.
yeah.
I'm just putting it together. Considering you were going to the city 5 days a week and you were watching shows all the time in the '70s, could you tell me about seeing the fucking Ramones, especially in those golden era?
Oh, they were
days?
loud too. They were a loud band too. Let me tell you, the Ramones you could go see pretty much as long as they were around. If they were not like out touring out west or wherever they were, they'd be playing somewhere. The best place I seen the Ramones was not in New York. It was in, I guess it's Western New Jersey at this up in the boondocks in the hills. This place called TJ's West.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not even there anymore. They were phenomenal up there. I mean, they kicked ass. It was great. And in fact, you're saying the Ramones, and I don't want to keep like I'm plugging my own band. We're playing at the Mercury
Plug your
Lounge.
fucking band.
No, well, we're playing with Joey Ramone's brother, Mickey Lee, on November 8th at the Mercury Lounge. You said the Ramones. I had to throw that in there.
Nice.
Why wouldn't you plug your new band? What's the whole point?
You're asking me a question. I'm diverting a little bit, but they were great at that place.
That's what you got to do. Yeah, and the Ramones. Oh my God, just such a tightness and such an amazing amount of personality. We had Monty.
One of my
Melnick.
all-time favorite bands, Ramones.
We had Monty Melnick from their tour manager. And their tour manager on the show, and it's kind of funny how he dispelled a lot of the rumors about basically that Joey and Johnny couldn't even be in the same room for many years. It's funny how rock and roll, like pre-internet stories and all this. If you think fake news spreads on the internet, fake news spread on the schoolyard way earlier than that. The amount of like rock stars, every rock star would take out their ribs to suck their own dicks, like just crazy shit like that.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
There's always been, from what I've heard, there's always been something going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Even as recent as we speak right now.
Yeah.
Like with the estate, because, with the estate,
yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Jerry's, did you know Jerry's manager, Jason John?
No.
You don't? Okay. Jerry's manager also, I believe, managed the estate of Johnny Ramone.
Okay.
The guitar, but there's a lot going on. I don't know exactly what, but even this guy Mickey Lee, his brother, I believe they're in litigation.
Okay,
wow.
So who the hell knows?
Well, Monty did allude to there being a lot of, when we had him on, Ryan, he did allude to there was a lot of legal issues with that whole band.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Family members and stuff. It's crazy. Yep. It is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I never, I'm not one that pries. If you want to tell me something, you tell me. If you don't, don't. I got issues going on right now. If you stop right there, I'm not going to say what's going on.
Yeah. No, it's none of your business. It's none of your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get that.
But that happens all the time too. But sometimes bands, relationships, and whatever. I'm just glad that after all these years, you're still friends with everybody, man. Because that is rock and roll. It's hard to keep friends sometimes.
Oh yeah, Mr. Jim. I talk to him all the time, Jerry. Like I said, I had to call Jerry and ask him something Saturday.
That's the nicest. I think it's the nicest part about this whole thing is that there's a friendship that's lasted, that's ensued, and that's still there. So, man, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, man, because it's been really, really nice to have you on.
Thank you.
And I please keep us posted about, the new band and when you have more stuff out, if you want to come back on and share that. Anytime you have a tour coming up or anything, just let us know. We'd love to get,
yeah, we're going up to Albany, I think in December.
Okay.
Maybe at some point we'll make our way over the border. but I won't do the talking. I won't do any talking.
Yeah, you'll be this time. You just have to have a gear
Sit
manifest.
in the back seat and make believe I'm sleeping.
Just tell them you're coming to visit us, and we'll lend you gear.
So
We'll lend you
that's
gear when
all
you're
good.
here.
Yeah. So it's all good. Yeah, anytime. Listen, it was great. So, you think of anything else, you need to do a follow-up, we'll figure it out. I'm cool with that.
Cool,
Excellent, man. And where's your band playing next?
Okay, so next Thursday we're at a place called the Record Factory. It's a record store in Dover, New Jersey, which is Western New Jersey. It's actually where the show place used to be, in that area, which we played in the Misfits. We played up there with Richard Hell and the Voidoids. But anyway, we're playing at the
I
Record
like you're
Factory.
throwing that out there. It's like, oh, Richard Hell, rock and roll legend. It's like, yeah, I want to play with this guy.
We played at the show place,
Yeah,
which we knocked down about 2 years ago.
And Gandhi tuned my guitar.
But it's the Record Factory. It's a huge record store. He sells vinyl and all kinds of stuff. But he has a lounge, and the lounge is like something from the past. It only holds 50 people. We're playing there with Richard Lloyd from television next Thursday, October 10th.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That
then,
is so rad.
Then November 8th is the show in Manhattan at the Mercury Lounge with the Hyperdolls and Mickey Lee. And lastly, we have something. There's a gentleman by the name of Art Forte. He owns a radio station upstate, I believe in Albany, Radio X. He's going to sponsor us to go up there and do a show. It should be within the first 2 weeks of December. So, I mean, I would love to get up your way, but give me a little time and we'll get there. But that's what's going to play until December right now.
Nice.
Kick ass, man.
And where can people find you online?
You can go to FC, social media, FC Inc. It's FC Inc. Band. Be the easiest.
Cool.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, man. This is fucking awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Nice meeting you, Jason. It was great.
You too, man.
All right. Take care.
All right, so since the recording of this broadcast, I've been listening to a lot of FC Inc., and it's, man, really cool band. We're going to play a little bit of it right now.
Well, you thought the monster was asleep, dreaming in his lair, comfortable and he's deep, like he just don't care. No, he's out on top and riding on a wave. Giant crane in the modern days, blew up out of the sky.
See, that's what I really like about like that band. I didn't realize like how much Franché has a recognizable guitar tone and a playing.
Yeah, dude, totally.
But he does. I hear it, and I also hear the similar mastering techniques as Static Age to this. So it all goes full circle. It's really cool, and really, yeah, what he said about a singer, totally true. I can hear how good of a performer he is on stage, even within his vocal delivery in the studio, and that is a hard fucking thing to do.
Well, when you hear somebody singing on a recording, and you can, exactly what you said, when you can tell that they're going to deliver the goods live, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. So yeah, man, definitely keep in touch with all of his socials, like he mentioned, and definitely look out for this band coming your way. Hopefully we get to see them in Canada soon, but if all of our friends listening in the US, they're going to be doing some dates in the US with some great freaking people too, man. He's busting off names, of bands like Television and yeah, just really real treat to have him on the show this week for sure.
I would just want to give a special shout out to I bought this actually at a store in the West Island that was advertising off of Marketplace. You brought up Marketplace before when you were talking about so we went all the way to the West Island to discover this, and since one of my best buds, Jay, has gone to this record shop like 50 times since then, I'm like, dude, it's right off of Lakeshore. It's like a really cool little shop that this dude runs on the weekends and stuff.
Nice.
But also a shout out to Cheap Thrills downtown that's been around forever.
Yeah.
And I just had to get it just based on how cool this cover is. Well, I know I Earth AD, of course, but what's funny about this is I spent most of my life being like, if it's not Static Age or Walk Among Us, it could go fuck itself.
Yeah.
Because this is like the most hardcore they ever got. But at the same time, now I listen to it, I'm just like, oh man, this
New appreciation.
A new appreciation, totally. And shout out to my friend Eric who sold me his copy of Walk Among Us because I could not fucking find it anywhere. There was a drought. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you, man, the Misfits have had such a long and storied career with all the different incarnations, like you call them, Jerry and Friends. But I remember when
Just because the members kept changing.
Yeah, no, of course. But I remember I was living in California, and our manager at the time managed the Misfits, and Doyle was in the band. Like, it was Doyle and Jerry and I believe Michael Graves. So
okay, I love the fucking Graves era. For what it's worth, everyone my age, we all loved the Graves era because it was ours. Yeah. And the CDs were coming out when we were kids. Now, I understand the older fans that are listening to this new stuff, like me yelling at clouds about most things. I can understand their trepidation about jumping into it. But I was talking to the dudes from Fast Food Fairies, and the guitar player, he was like, oh man, I love American Psycho. I love this. I love that. And it's true. It's a part of my life at this point. And it's cool that, Doyle and I are buds and stuff. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. And we, it's funny how, like, when you work in Comic-Cons, you work in events, you work in that, there's work and then there's the person. And you can be a big fan of the person, but you can be a big fan of the work, but the person is a person. It's a separate entity. When they go to work, you could see all that. You could be like, wow. But then there's the dude you're talking to. When you're talking to Chad, I know, like, there's not every 5 seconds you're thinking, you're the guy from The Wire. You're like, no, you're a human being and we're having a conversation.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see, like a lot of bands that have endured like 40 plus years, 50, whatever. There's lineup changes. There's, especially when you get to when singers change in a band, that could be very divisive for a lot of people. When singers come back, a lot of people are happy, but like Anthrax, like the years that they had John Bush, like they were fucking great. A lot of people, the Motley Crue record with, John Corabi.
It's so good.
It's great. So you can't discredit it just because, look, I don't want to slag on Motley, but I would much rather hear John Corabi singing Motley Crue than fucking Vince Neil right now. It's just the way it is, dude. Sorry. The guy fucking can't fucking sing anymore. And it's nostalgia, but the thing is with the Misfits, Danzig can fucking sing. He can still sing, and he always could sing. And as a Misfits fan, like, I'm sure for you appreciate the Graves, but to be able to see them with Glenn, I mean, come on, fuck, It's
I think it's kind of like appreciating Michael Keaton and Adam West as Batman somewhat.
Yep.
Where it's just kind of like, well, I don't put Adam West and Michael Keaton and say, duke it out, guys. I'm just like, no, this is Batman here. Yep. This is Batman here. And, the worlds will never collide, but I can definitely appreciate them both.
They might collide. That could happen, man. Come on. Like, what we saw in The Flash.
Oh yeah. Well, no. It will collide like that, but I'm just like, I just wish.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It breaks my heart, and for what it's worth, everybody, Doyle is a huge Adam West 1966 Batman fan, and so am I.
Same.
Exactly the same. If we ever have Doyle, if you ever come on the show, let's. If you don't want to fucking talk about guitar, we could talk about Adam West for like 40 minutes. It'd be fucking great.
I don't want to fucking talk to somebody about guitar for 40 minutes. Dude, I used to go to. I remember going when Kevin and Slaves would be, when we'd go to like NAMM, not like Vietnam, but like when we go to like the NAMM, the North American Music Conference or whatever the fuck it is. It's basically like Comic-Con for musicians. And it happened every year. I remember going either to NAMM or going to Steve's Music with the guys, and they would be going in there and fucking noodling on everything they could pick up to noodle on, and I would just want to blow my head off because it was so fucking boring.
I fucking hate talking gear. It's
my god! But for some people, they love it. But you talk to somebody, like Bill, I'll talk to Bill about
Dune.
Yeah,
Dune.
Exactly. Other shit. I never ask him about his guitar tone, but I've seen him nerd out about gear, and he loves that stuff. But for me, it's just like, couldn't care less. So, yeah, if we ever have Doyle on the show, like obviously we'll have to, we'll give the proper nod to equipment. But now I want to talk to him about his favorite horror films and his favorite comic book stuff, and how he got how many big muscles and all that fun shit.
Well, being vegan as fuck and being like part of the Vegan Monsters with Derek from Sepultura and even Toby from H2O, who's a fucking tough, brave motherfucker.
Yeah.
We personally saw Toby from H2O. I was winded walking my dog this morning. Fucking Toby from H2O plays one fucking song in Music for Cancer. One fucking song and says, I don't like barricades. I'm jumping in there. And into a crowd of thousands of people, possibly being consumed by humans jumping on top of him. He sang the entire set, and he didn't just stand there. He moved around.
No. It's so inspiring, man. And he's a year older than me, so
yeah, vegan as fuck.
Well, I got to tell you, and I know I've talked to you about this. I haven't really said it openly because I hate fucking talking about this because it just opens you up to so much like criticism and finger pointing and all this bullshit. But I've been vegetarian for 14, 15 years almost. Like as long as like Julie and I went vegetarian together, like our first year together or something. So our wedding was vegan and raw. It was connaissance catered.
Really? That sounds dirty.
Right. Yeah. Vegan and raw.
Raw.
After after seeing Toby and I just kind of like, I don't know what happened. It kind of sparked something in me again to just want to be as plant-based as I could be. Cause I've been pretty plant-based for a long time, but, ever since then I've been really, really trying to go 100% plant-based and I'm pretty close now, man. Like the one thing that was stopping me was like dairy and eggs. I was still fucking with fish a bit. I'm done with fish. Like that's out. And now I've kind of dropped eggs and I've just been trying to like, have chia seeds and in the morning I'll have like coconut yogurt with berries and chia seeds and hemp seeds and maple syrup and like having that kind of a breakfast instead of having like 4 eggs. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know, man. I've kind of always wanted to be as straight edge as I could. And it was just super inspiring. Seeing him just kind of spark something. I was like, I think I want to go back to that because I felt my best when I was doing that. So yeah. Anyways, it's incredible how conversations can inspire you. Conversations can set something off in you or awaken something in you. And I hope that happens on this podcast sometimes with some of you guys listening and gals and people and humans or however you identify. It's inspiring sometimes, a conversation. You never know what a conversation can spark inside of somebody. So, yeah, listen, Ryan, this has been a fun episode. I know how much this one meant to you because you're a big Misfits fan. So big thanks to Franché Coma for coming on. A big thanks to our friends at Studio House Designs, our friends at Audio Technica Canada, and of course, Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Use our promo code Rockman20 and get 20% off your entire order every single time you use that code. So go to heartbeathotsauce.com and get initiated if you have not yet, because it's the best. A big thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. Thanks to our producer, Julia Kajerski, who...
It's her birthday.
Yes, it is her birthday. She is turning 31 today.
Yep. She's turning 27.
She's turning 22.
Yeah. I'd say she's turning 19, but that's just fucking gross on your end.
Yeah. But a big happy birthday to Julia, who's hitting the big 40. She doesn't care about saying it, so she is turning 40 this week. So big congratulations to her. Man, if I looked that good at 40, I might have bagged me a 25-year-old.
I don't know, man. People seemed pretty homely when I was like 40. When I was a teenager, people who were 40 didn't take care of themselves as much.
Hey, I'm going to look for this photo, and you're going to post it right now, because by the time we edit this, I'll find this photo for you. It's that photo of the cast of Cheers. I don't know if you've ever seen it and how old they were at the time. Yeah. Let's put that up on screen really quick.
What the fuck?
Right. So let's just say maybe a lot more people are being plant-based now.
Maybe they didn't live in a bar.
We'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.